and creative people. So you never know when you're going to have the opportunity to just say something supportive to somebody right when they need to hear it. Next story is The Festering Jewel by Melanie Hiller. That's me. I don't remember exactly how old I was. It was 19 or 20. I know for sure it was under 21, or I wouldn't have been driving to Mexico to get drunk. In hindsight, I see why my dad always panicked. I was a carload of young women pooling their gas money to drive 2.5 hours south to the border, to enter a town designed to separate them from their money, to hang out with guys designed to separate them from their senses. And then, of course, there was the journey home, which would occur at sunrise, halfway between drunk and hungover. I mean, what could go wrong? So we went as often as we could. We'd drive the 120 miles to Tijuana, the 405, then the 5, and then on the 805, we would come up over the hill and see the twinkling lights in the distance. I can still picture the skyline because the lights of Tijuana twinkle differently than any other city I've seen. And every time we came over that crest, one of us would say, "Ah, Tijuana, the festering jewel." I'm not sure why, but we'd crack up every time. We'd park at the border and walk across with the scores of other 18 to 20-year-olds down a long corridor to giant metal turnstiles. They were so intimidating to me that it took a second or two for me to line up the timing and the courage to jump in, grab onto the bar with both hands, and push my way through. Just as you were released from the rotation, metal bars clanked loudly behind you like a prison. Then came the ID check, the vendors, the beggars, and the jarheads. Let the fun begin. Normally, we would follow the road into Revolution and party in the clubs near the intersection. But one evening, after many drinks and many dances, we were feeling a bit more racy and wandered further down the road. We entered one club, and the music was just pounding, 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 and deafening. The walls and the ceiling were mirrored. There were black lights and strobe lights, and it was wonderfully disorienting. As we settled into our new surroundings, we started to assign tequila poppers to cute guys. A tequila popper can only be likened to some kind of Roman tradition based in excess and violence and a completely unevolved choice in entertainment. It goes like this. Bar hands are stationed around the dance floor. You can recognize them by their uniform, a black T-shirt, a fluorescent lanyard around their necks, and a plastic whistle. They're also wearing holsters, and resting in each holster is a bottle of tequila. You would stand behind your soon-to-be victim of the popper and catch the attention of a guy with the whistle around his neck. After pointing out your target, or victim, you would hear the shrill whistle as he ambushed the recipient. He forces their head back, pours tequila down their throats, then with a firm grip around their stomach or head, shakes them violently back and forth for about 30 seconds, while the crowd cheers among the whistle's short, repetitive blasts. I have given and received poppers so violent that the beneficiary is left writhing on the ground. Poppers were shocking, reckless, and the most fun you were going to have for $2. Search, target, point, pop, $2. The evening went on like this until my friend tugged at me while I was dancing. "Mel, this guy says we owe him $20 for the poppers." She had to yell it in my ear because the music still pulsed loudly. "What?" I said. "We paid already." "I know," she yelled back. "Come talk to him." I walked down the 3 steps to the edge of the lower dance floor to see a man wearing a black T-shirt, fluorescent lanyard, and a whistle around his neck. In my face, he holds a piece of paper, and the only thing written on the paper is $20. I holler in his direction. "We already paid for the poppers." He hollers back, "Who did you pay?" With my muddled vision, I scan the room, hectic with flashing lights and throbbing bodies, and I see 8 to 10 guys with black T-shirts, fluorescent lanyards, and whistles. I don't know which one I paid. I just know I paid. He pushes the receipt closer to my face. "We don't owe you money," I insist. He responds, "Okay, for you, $12. At this, of course, I knew he was ripping me off. Had I owed 20, he wouldn't have settled for 12 so quickly. At that moment, in my mind, softened by booze, flooded a montage of images of being bullied, lied to, taken advantage of, and me accepting it passively. The flow of imagery ended with me in that moment, in that bar, with that man holding paper in my face. I grabbed the paper from his hand, crumbled it into a ball, and said, "We don't owe you shit," and threw it in his face. Behind his angry head, I saw my friends, with their jaws dropped, and I thought, perhaps I'd made a mistake. I further sensed my error in judgment when I felt my feet leave the ground, and I saw the ceiling come closer, and again as I felt the dance floor steps strike me in the back. On the ground, and disoriented, I look up to see 8 to 10 men in black T-shirts with fluorescent lanyards looking down at me. Behind them, my friends, mouths still open, eyes wide. I heard someone in the crowd yell, "Get the federales!" With that, I did the only thing I could, thrust my hands deep into my pockets, pulled out every dollar I had, and presented them in open hands to a man with a fluorescent lanyard. Then I ran. On the drive home, among chants of, "Mel, he threw you like a rag doll," and "I can't believe you did that," I gently rubbed the developing welt on my lower back, and in my rearview mirror, I watched the twinkling lights of Tijuana grow smaller and smaller, and I thought with a smile, "Ah, Tijuana, the festering jewel." Thank you for listening to Tailspin. I'd like to thank our contributors, Lee Adams and Brenda Petrakis. And remember, without you, there's no story. So please contribute to the program. You can contact us through Tailspin at Facebook and also at my website, melaniehiller.com, Tailspin.